Oh, I wanted to ask you about this, Derek. You went on the Joe Rogan experience. What was that like?
Yeah, the first time I went, it was pretty nerve-wracking, I would say.
Same as this, yeah.
Actually, the first time I did your guys' show, I was probably more nervous than the first Joe Rogan one because it was like the first big podcast I'd ever done.
So, that's funny.
Yeah, I remember shitting my pants for that one. But yeah, it was good. It was a lot more smooth and fluid than I had anticipated. I wasn't really sure how well we'd click, but he's kind of a bro, so it wasn't too hard to, and obviously a professional talker, so even if you're just sitting there, he'll somehow make it work.
He'll carry, if you need to be carried. Dude, I saw you talk to him about Jon Jones. And Rogan kind of pretends that he believes Jones never did steroids. Yeah. And did Jon Jones do steroids?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. What's your evidence?
Well, I would have. There's a clip on the JRE channel where I summarize it in like 15 minutes, and it's like I would say a perfectly consolidated breakdown of that I couldn't put any more eloquently, but because the timeline I would probably misstate something at this point because it's been a while since I've looked at it. But in general, it was a couple different times he popped, and the excuses were kind of weak, but fairly. Like they had holes in them, and some of his urine test results were kind of overlooked entirely. That looked a bit finicky as well, like heavy levels of suppression that you would typically only see when you're on hormones. And it kind of just got skated over because he said, gas station dick pills, or he bought, I don't even remember what it was, but
they would just mispronounce picograms enough times.
I remember
to be like, nobody really knows what a picogram is. It's a grain of salt in the Salt Lake, Utah, or whatever the fuck it is. They get, and you're like, oh, I guess it's just not much.
Dude, they sold me with the picograms because all right. So the deal with the picograms,
you don't know this. Kyle's a denier, and he doesn't believe.
I'm not a denier. No, I don't believe Arnold Schwarzenegger took steroids either. He's my hero. I used to be like that when I was a kid. I remember when I was like 13 years old, like working out in the basement, and they had an Arnold poster, and I was like, he never cheated. Like, I just remember having that thought, like he wouldn't cheat. He beat
Mark McGuire's a good man. He wouldn't do the things they're accusing. This Chicago media is accusing him of.
In '97, we all knew those guys were cheating. That's all. All the adults were talking about.
His forearms look like thighs.
They didn't look real. Yeah. Yeah.
Was after you finished on Rogan, I always wonder, like, does he like want to hang out? He seems like the kind of dude that's like, after you'd finish, he'd be like, I built a bow and arrow place here, and there's a place where you can fight robots and you can golf in this simulator, like just like a kid with $1 zillion. Was there any of that?
It kind of depends what his schedule's like, because sometimes he has like commitments he has to make it to, but in general, it's just kind of like I would say as close to the equivalent as showing up to your friend's place for a podcast as you would think, but with like really expensive stuff around you.
Does he pay for your flight and your hotel and everything?
No.
Oh, so the guests self-fund what it takes to get there?
Well, I don't know about everyone, but I mean, in general, I would think that anyone going on Rogan would pay for themselves. That would be wild to even ask after being invited. Like, hey, so you're going to pay for my...
Oh, I see where you're coming from. But like, I think that if you get on, I don't know, Ellen DeGeneres' show, is she still on TV? Like, they pay your hotel and your airfare and stuff to get you on the show.
Depends who you are and how much of a get you are. Like when Derek's right about someone like Rogan, it's like, hey, Joe, thanks for putting me on the largest platform run by a human at this point in history. Can you pay for this Hilton bill? Like, who do I bill this to? And he'd be like, what the fuck?
It says $384. I have bills to pay.
You run up a bar tab.
Typically, the way he would, it's a lot less, I would say, kind of like official as you might think too. Like, at least for me, when I talk to him, next time you're in Austin, like, give me a shout and like, come on, kind of thing. Not let's plan a specific date with like logistics all figured out, and I'll make sure, he's not offering to book hotels or flights, and there's no discussion of that really at all. It's just kind of like, hey, when you're around next time, give me a shout and let's line up.
I think you've been, he got into your shit and learned about it a bit, and now I see him and his guests like reference you when it comes to like as a subject matter expert. And it's cool to see that he'd be like, you know, Derek, More Plates, More Dates. You know him, right? All right, then you understand what I'm talking about here. This guy's cheating. like you're like this base level of knowledge that he's making sure people have before he like touches on a subject. It's cool.
Yeah. Next time you're on there, you should ask how big Joe's cums are. And
I'll be on in December, so yeah, I'll try and remember that.
Definitely open with that. How big are your thumbs, Joe? And he'd answer seriously because he's like, "This is my highest level expert friend. There must be something important about this question that's reminiscent of other aspects of health."
Health related.
And then you're like, "Nope. Do you want to come more, big boy?"
Call them big boys, the kicker.
I came bearing gifts. Just drop one of these on the table. Ruin my opportunity to ever come back by plugging something.
You're right. Have you ever thought about changing your background? Because I hope you never do.
No, it's a lot easier to do nothing than to change it, first of all. And I don't know. I think it's like relatable and kind of like
the success of your company has made it so you can have any background you want. You could be in a high rise with the view of Central Park or something like it. Guys, his supplement company is doing really, really well. But here you are, not a change. That could be your dad's basement for all I know.
Some people think it is. Yeah.
I've seen Taylor use that as his green screen for a while. Just the wood paneling and is that an old intercom system? Is that what that is?
It's a secret what it is, but the running predominant theory is that it's the sauna controls that control the temperature in here.
Okay. Okay.
I remember one of my friends' parents, when I was like a little kid, had one of those on the downstairs, like just an old speaker, and they would use the thing, like the mom would be like, dinner time, and like in my head, I thought these people were wealthy beyond imagination.
Same.
To have that sort of technology.
I remember we were touring houses and one of them had an intercom, and I was like, this is some George Jetson shit. The future is now, boys. Look at this.
I associated it with class because it removes the need to yell across your house, which to me doesn't vibe
low class.
Nice. Yeah.
Decades ago, this was cutting edge shit right here.
It still is. If an EMP goes off, that'll work, would it? I don't know. I don't know how that works.
You just say things.
Yeah, whatever. I shouldn't have second guessed myself.
Speaking of Rogan, so he's got Trump coming on in.
Is that true? I
saw that.
Everything.
I heard that.
I think they confirmed it now that Trump's
they confirmed it. I heard Kamala was going on, and then I heard she denied it, and now it's a good source. It's just like tweets.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would love it, and it would be so funny if like it was 4 hours of not even tangentially approaching politics, just being like, Joe, I'm not sold on this giant yeti you're saying is living in the mountains. I don't get it. Where's the evidence? And he's
Gigantophithecus. You've got to understand there's fossil evidence. No, that would be good. I hope.
Donald, have you ever heard of Göbekli Tepe?
You know Randall Carlson,
old Turkish civilization that they say is like.
Who would be the best guest? Who would be the best guest for Rogan to sort of bring on with Trump and from his universe, like Alex Jones? Like if Alex Jones showed up out of nowhere, he's like, Mr. President, I need to talk to you about a few things. I've run into some financial trouble, some legal tragedies, if you will, have befallen me.
He interrupts too much. I might prefer Eddie Bravo. Like same level of crazy, but a little better at waiting for his turn.
Who's like a funny person that like Trump could play off of? Like Shane Gillis. Shane Gillis. Throw Shane Gillis in the mix, and that would be hysterical.
He does the impression and everything really well. That would be fun. What I hope he does is what kind of the nerdy part of me has always wanted to people to ask presidents, and it's about like aliens and UFOs and stuff like that. I want to know some stuff about that. I want to know. I want him to ask Trump to his face stuff about that, and Bigfoot too. I don't believe in Bigfoot, but ask him about it. Do you believe in Bigfoot, Mr. President? Do you think it's possible?
Nah, I was joking. Don't waste time on Bigfoot. I'd waste a little time on aliens.
I object to the idea that this is a waste of time. I'm on Kyle's team here. I desperately want. I bet when Trump was elected, like it got power, one of the first things he asked was about aliens.
I bet like if you asked like whatever CIA handler team gets assigned to all the new incoming presidents, and you like got to interview whatever little club that is, they'd be like, oh yeah, aliens first question for all of them. Like every single one, ever since fucking Eisenhower, they're dying to know.
And JFK, like, what does he know about JFK?
Yeah,
he didn't release
all the secrets.
I think those documents were scheduled to be released to the public, and Trump like kicked the can down the road when it came time. It may have been Biden, but it was recent when it happened. Because I remember watching Oliver Stone's JFK, tremendous movie about it, by the way, with a crazy good cast, with my dad, my mom, like, I don't know, when I was 15, and my dad not thinking he would live this long, being like, when you get in 2024, y'all look into this. I specifically remember him saying this to us when we were kids. Like not maybe not the year, but like they at the end of the movie they say, you know, it's been classified until the year 2023 or something like that. At the end of this movie, I specifically remember my dad being like, y'all look into this whenever they release that information. Good God. And they just kick the can down the road. They won't tell us what happened.
Whatever happened to that dude he had one of the biggest episodes on Rogan ever, and it was all about aliens and some spaceship that he found or something. Do you remember that guy?
Oh, yeah. That's
yes,
the guy who claimed to have worked at Area 51. His name's escaping me right now. He had it was weird. During his appearance, he claimed to have like a migraine or something and to have a hard time concentrating. And it was like, well, man, maybe we could have done this tomorrow. Like
Bob Lazar. He's like
Bob Lazar,
the highest viewed podcast ever on
That's
the
awesome.
channel.
Like a futurist
Really?
with the last name Lazar.
You know the Bob Lazar like lore, right, Taylor? He's the guy who, he worked at Caltech or MIT or something like that. And
you've told me about this guy. Yes.
Yeah, one of the he claims he was recruited to work on captured UFOs and try to reverse engineer them, and that he looked at them, saw multiple kinds of them, and he said he described how they were powered. And the only thing that can really be substantiated is he described their hand scan, like biometric entry at that Air Force base, like years before that was public information. And it's like, well, he worked there. Like he kind of knew the layout of the building. Like clearly he worked there. And then there is some evidence that some of his documents have been like erased after the fact, because I don't think there's any evidence that he has a degree of any kind. And yet he was definitely recruited by the Air Force to work on something at Area 51. So
yeah, I believe he was working on something.
It's a weird mystery behind that guy. I don't know about the alien spacecraft thing.